Alright, so before I jump into the judging criteria, mostly it's reminders, but I do want to introduce the judges. So Judge, if you could stand up, introduce yourself. Start with you, Dana.
Hi, I'm Diana Dedenhafer. I'm with Good Dads. I'm the communications specialist and was the one who submitted Good Dads to be considered as the nonprofit to be helped for this Hack4Good event. And luckily for us, we were chosen. So thank you so much for your hard work. This is getting so excited.
Closer to you. Yes. You guys might want to all stand up and come up here.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we
Yes. Come on up here.
Okay.
Is this fine?
Yes, in between the projector and the
Podium.
Perfect. Now you're on.
Neat. I'm Greg. All of you guys know me. I was very loud the first evening from Next Level Solutions, and I, like I said, will be judging you. Also your project. But congratulations for making it through the weekend. I know that all of you look slightly less rested and energized than you did a couple days ago, but really, really appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this.
Hi everyone, my name is German Cruz. I am an instructor and a software developer for Codify. I'm really excited to see everyone's project out here and just really excited in general. Thank you for your hard work and yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Fred. I am definitely that annoying ticket handler throughout the event.
Woo! Yeah!
I was informed I have to explain what I do. I'm a Linux engineer at Cloudflare, and best of luck to everyone. Hey everyone, I'm Tim Franklin. I am a senior technical UX architect at Duck Creek, and I've been involved with Hack4Good for the last many years. We've had it, a mentor, competitor, co-organizer, all that stuff, and it's just so great to be back. I'm really glad that you all came out. I really appreciate all of your effort, just like all of us do. And it's no matter who wins. I know it sounds cliche, but this is a big, big win for all of us. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. I hope that you feel good about all the good work that you put in, because even if yours isn't chosen as the best one, we will all be considering pieces from all of them and taking lessons from it, ideas from it, and trying to collaborate and just making the best app possible we can for doing that. So thank you all very much.
Awesome. So now you know the judges. So the next part is for the judges, but we want to do it with all of you here, so you kind of knew what the judging criteria was. So at the beginning of the competition, we called out there's 3 major areas for points. So the first one is creativity. How unique is your solution? Does your solution contain a feature that is useful, cost-effective, non-obvious, blah, blah, blah. That is 5 points. So that is, what about, I can't do math in real time. About 20% of the points. And so for the judges, you will assign these points as you go. If you haven't already, on your second page you'll see, or your third page, you'll see the actual forms with a score from 0 to 5 and notes below. Second criteria is user interface. So how easy is it to use? Is it visually appealing? That is also 5 points. And then the biggest section for the pointing is for execution. How well does it work? Does it support the features that were called out? Is it an affordable solution? Will it be implementable by the customer or by the organization? Is it technically sound? Did you choose the right technologies or do things in the right way to make it a useful application? Things like that. For that last category, there is some weighted feature priority on the second page, judges. And you guys didn't have this before, but I want to make it clear. So the top 2 section is, can you use the companion app on a mobile device? And can you use the admin app on a desktop? So that will, if you weren't able to achieve that, that might be a little bit of hit on that last category. With 4 points, 4 stars, so the second most important, is the digital intake form, show all users and participants in the admin app, and the ability to take a quiz or survey on the companion app. The third one down is being able to view your schedule or additional information in the companion app, so for the users. The ability to log in or log out, so the fact that the experience is tailored to an individual. And the ability for the admins to actually invite users. Okay, and then the lowest priority, but really the coolest features, the ability to schedule or batch surveys, quizzes in the admin app. So actually make it so that you can set it and forget it. Notifications and reminders, announcements, quizzes, and surveys in the companion app. And then lastly, reporting for the admin app. Okay. So as you judge that last criteria with the 15 points on execution, those are the features to keep in mind while you're actually considering does it do what it's supposed to. Okay. Also things to consider when you're looking at creativity and the user experience. Okay. Judges, on each of your pages you will have a section for each team. So when the team comes up, please write the team name at the top. You probably should, at least on the first one, put your name at the top so that if these all get put together, we know which ones are your notes. Below each section, so there's the scoring total. I will say, as you're listening to these presentations, definitely consider provisional scoring at first. Once you've seen all 7 of them, you will actually probably want to change some, correct some, make them relative to each other. So definitely write something down when you hear each one. But know that that's probably a provisional score and that you'll come back once you've seen them all. The notes section below each team is really where you can call out the things you liked, you didn't like. There will be a 15-minute deliberation where you guys will discuss. That's where your notes will come into play, where you can talk about things. Okay, any questions from the coaches? Or the judges? All right, one other call out. So presenters, you will have 10 minutes total for your team. The recommendation is to use 7 minutes to show off your app and leave 3 minutes for questions. Our judges have been asked to ask very brief questions so that it doesn't take the whole 3 minutes for one question. But the more time you leave at the end, the more time the judges will get to ask questions and understand your app a little bit deeper. Okay? So I would also recommend when you're giving a demo, keep it brief. If you run into a bug while you're demoing, move on. Everybody will see it. But if you stick on it and you call it out and try to explain it, everybody will remember it. If you move on, nobody will remember it, okay? It has been about, 48 hours, so it's okay if there's bugs. It's not the end of the world.
They're features.
They're features, there you go. Or like I like to call them butterflies. Bugs that are supposed to be there. But try to keep it brief. I would also say it's probably a good idea to introduce yourselves. So that beginning of that presentation, let us know who you are. If that's not already planned, something as simple as saying, "Hi, my name's Ben," that's good enough. Okay? But as we're listening to you, we want to know who you are. We want to connect the name with the face, and really see the humanity that's behind the project you just built. Okay? All right. With that, I will call up our first team.
Sparkling Tomcats.
Sparkling Tomcats. If you guys want to
Thank you. I'll leave that there, sure. All right.
I'll have a timer running here so you can have a general idea about how much time you have left and all. Just-
Do like 2 minutes, like,
Sure, I can put it down
the
to,
2 minutes, we'll just like an answer.
I will try to do that while I'm judging. Yeah,
Oh, I can help with that too.
yeah,
I got you.
okay, Jason will help with that.
Okay. Sure to introduce all 3.
Alright, hello everyone, my name is Kayla Payton, and I'm Desiree.
I'm Zach Bradshaw.
I'm Abraham Mejia.
Awesome. So we are Team Sparkling Tomcats. Our idea started with actually a little bit of my background is as a teacher. So part of our idea for our project came from me as a teacher using on a shoestring budget Google Forms to be able to build surveys and quizzes and things like that, gather data and statistics and do reporting for school. Fortunately, my team was on board with that, so that's what we went with. So that's a huge part of what we did. Zach, do you want to talk about Google Forms and?
So we use Google Forms and then we connect up to the Google Form API to get all the different information and fill out all the different fields.
Absolutely. We also, on the back end, we used Firebase for authentication, and we used Firebase Firestore for our NoSQL database. That allowed us to be able to do that intake survey and collect that user data. We also used OneSignal for push notifications, so we have that as well.
So we did want to do we thought it was very important for the user flow and the admin flow just to be user friendly, especially for the app. It's geared for people not very technical. So we wanted to keep it very minimal. Just have the nav bar simple. Just know exactly what you're getting into whenever you click into it. So
Because Good Dads is trying to help out at-risk dads, and usually they don't always have access to that technology. So they're not always technologically literate. So you want to make it as simple. So here we kind of did the basic. Our login works both for mobile and web. And when we log in, you can see our notifications. If they have a task, you click on it, it takes you to the schedule. They have one module right now, and they can start a quiz straight from there. Module 1, and that's the Google Forms that we had done, and they submitted. We did the Google authentication, so their Google email will be there, and we can type back to them, support who their caseworker is or mentor. And there's that. Let's see. Let's look at our dashboard. And so this would be the administrative side.
Yeah, so we just use Chart.js to pull up some bar graphs and connect that up to the Google API.
And we just kind of use that intake form to make up some users and put in some random data. And as you add some users, they're collected here and rendered. That was Kayla right there. Let's see, we have the surveys. So when we take in the survey, it's created in Google Forms. We ask for a title, when they want it to be released, and we allow them to see a preview to make sure that that's what they want. So they can see it there. They can exit out of it, and they can add a new one. Same thing for the quizzes. Name, date to be released, and a little preview.
Maybe I missed it, did you show the intake form or?
Yes, it kind of rushed through it with the.
Yeah, let me see that again. Yes.
In that, all the information on there gets grabbed and put into database, what is it, Firebase?
Firestore, yeah.
Fire, and it gets automatically repopulated into our users. Yes.
How are users assigned to their caseworkers,
We didn't get to that far.
That's perfectly okay.
But I'm sure we can add another option to work like a selector.
I think with the intake form, that could be something added on, just for admin, like having an administration section where you could then assign a caseworker. also like maybe the
Oh.
caseworker's phone number or something?
Yeah, or I would say on this screen as well, we could add a select, and it could list the caseworkers. And so that way you select a caseworker, it assigns it to them. And that way you can change it in case it needs to be reassigned to a different caseworker. Any more questions?
You scroll up, back to the users, scroll all the way up. Okay, so there are filters on there, I'll just
So how does a dad get from the intake form into the companion app? Do you have any sort of notification at this point yet to be able to tell them, like an email or any of that yet? Or
Yeah, we have a notification. Do you wanna refresh? We have we have a proof of concept for notification. So if he'll refresh, he has pop-ups blocked on his browser.
Sure.
So the first one that we have is going to be one inviting you to subscribe. Woohoo, there you go.
Oh, cool.
So that's the first one that we have, and then Signal allows you to create as many as you want. You can customize it. You can do one saying, you have, a survey remaining to complete. So you can do it based off of what pages they visit, things like that.
And also Google Forms allows you to set email reminders with your forms. That way you can remind them, hey, you haven't submitted this yet.
Perfect.
And it's free, and you can get tons of analytics with it.
Any last questions, judges? If not, can we all give them a round of applause? Next up is the whole apple. Come on up. And then and I'll hold up
Great, Judge.
Hi, I'm Kirsten. They always put me in the front row, so I'm gonna be back here today. Kirsten Markley, hello.
I'm Jackson Lewis with OTC, I teach computer science.
I'm Desmond Ford, I'm just here.
Mike Ford, I'm a developer at Code Scientist.
Tiffany Ford, OTC.
Wait, there's a relationship there.
No,
It's
no
a
relationship.
coincidence.
Yeah,
something very common.
It is very
Well, to start off, I'm gonna let Dr. Ford just quickly talk about the framework we chose and why we chose it, some of the technologies we're using.
Yeah, so our app is built in two separate components that we're gonna show you. The first is the intake app, which would be run on a desktop or tablet or whatever in the office. And we also have our companion app, which the user would then get from the store. Both of these are built on the .NET MAUI platform, which is cross-platform functional. So if you wanted to install that intake on an iPad, you could do that. You could build that to the target. You could build it to just a Windows desktop. If you want to run that on Mac OS, it would work wherever you want to deploy that. Same with our companion app. If you decide you want those store eligible, you can just build to those targets and then submit those to the applicable stores. If you decide you want to do those a different way or even port them over to web apps, that would be super easy. So yeah, good. And then while you're bringing it up, do you want to talk a little bit about, or do you want to talk about back end?
I'll probably show it a little bit too,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Well, to kind of give you an idea as we move through our screens of what you're gonna be looking at, this is our ERD for the project. So we had a huge focus on scalability and making sure that the back end was ready for pretty much, whatever the user would need. So different sections for handling surveys separately from quizzes, storing user and child information in a related but secure way, making sure that modules are set up correctly and that there can be a large amount of customizability so that the users on the admin side can be very specific and intentional about what they're trying to do. So that. And for the actual system, this is our intake app right here, which is going to be a component of that administrative app side. So I've saved you the torture of watching me misspell my name a few times by pre-populating this. But I got you. I'm a teacher, I know. My students are in here. But usually just be handed this on a tablet or spin a computer around, however the admin side would like to set that up. And they just move through this. And down here you even have the option to add children. So we have the option to put in like the child support amount, because that was a requested field, birth date of child, just as a proof of concept there, you can go in and pick those. And then once you're done, you can hit submit. It'll ask you to wait for a moment. You'll see it kind of loading. There we go. And then what'll happen is the person who
the
just...
thought, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The thought there was like, this is on a tablet that you hand them, they fill it out, and then they hand it back, so.
Yeah. So you could always change it if you decided that worked.
So at that point then, you will receive an email from the admin with a link to the Play Store or App Store so that you can get started. So everything's handled kind of right there in the office, and since it's a local app on your machine, the admin app that's running, you have full control over who's registering. You don't just have like people showing up. Now, the nice thing is once that's done, then they get into the companion app. So what we have here is just a mobile view of the companion app, and this is a dynamic layout, so it'll actually change depending on if they're using it on macOS, Android, iOS, Windows, so it'll dynamically update to match a kind of design language that they're used to on their own device. Now,
So our thought here was, if you are going to publicly put this in the store, you don't want just anyone downloading it and then being able to try to log in. So there's actually a register process built in where they provide the email that they would have given you in-house, and then they can set a password. If that email doesn't already exist, we're like, hey, you need to contact Good Dads and get set up before you can use this app. But if they do exist, therefore they've done the intake form, we're going to set that as their password, which would then let them log in.
So I can type the email address that I put into the intake form here.
It looks like squished on the screen.
Yeah, we'll just make it big for a second.
The iPhone 15 size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Alright, so we'll just make a password really quick. Yeah, I don't know why I can't get to my button, but
It's like all blown up weird on your screen.
yeah, that's alright.
Yeah.
So once they log in, it'll connect to the admin side, set up their password and everything, and you guys will be able to validate. And they'll be taken to their dashboard. So on the dashboard, we can see that this user is currently working in Module 7. And they have a pending survey that they can take, information about their next class, and the option to hop into their Module 7 quiz. So the way we set up quizzes is they're all fed by the database, so once they click on that, they're taken into the quiz with a timer saying how much
It's not
time
cut off
they
like that
have
on the screen,
remaining.
it's cut off on the presentation.
Right,
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
This
Here.
projector,
There we go.
sorry.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
apologize.
you maximize it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go. There you go.
But as they answer, they can submit. It gives them feedback if they were correct or incorrect, as long as, and also some pre-programmed like information about why that was the wrong or right answer. So I'm gonna hand off to
Yeah, we have
Mike
one
to
more
talk about the.
talk real fast
Oh.
about the
Results.
Oh yeah,
Just show
yeah,
the
that's the
page real
results.
quick.
You got like 1 minute.
1 minute.
1 minute
Yeah.
left.
Alright,
We
I'm
wanna
gonna.
see the
Over
API, so let's
API.
let Mike talk about it.
Yeah, I guess I won't show too much of it, but the API is a C#.NET API. I set it up with Mediator so that once it was set up, which is kind of the big thing on it's the initial setup, that's the hard part. So from then on out, you can just set up the various controllers for which ones for what you're trying to do. Then each one of the tables has its own repository. And then so you just set up a repository class basically and insert what you want, and then you can just run the repository. The mediator keeps everything nice and separate so that if you happen to break one piece of it, you won't break the rest of it. Yeah, that's kind of it. That gives you the greatest amount of flexibility and privacy. You're not sharing your data with anyone else. It all belongs to you. And you only limited by your imagination and your developer's time, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Super.
Perfect. All right, questions from the judges?
Do you guys actually, do you have an administration app?
Nope.
No, didn't get that
No.
far. The database is there. Some of the API stuff is there.
There's just no UI for it.
Yeah, the information
Yeah.
just needs pulled through.
And yeah, obviously some of the, quite a few of the actual controller actions for those are missing, right? So.
Just one quick clarification too, did you use any sort of software that would cost anything or any sort of third-party stuff? I know you use .NET Maui to build it all, but otherwise it's custom.
Yeah, otherwise it's custom. You would need a SQL database, but you're probably small enough that the SQL Express is gonna be just fine. You'd have to have somewhere to host that for minimal cost. .NET of course is free. I use VS Pro, but the community would be just fine. I didn't use anything special.
We're routing the emails through just SMTP protocol, like there's no service behind that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mediator is free too, so.
All right. Any other questions?
Ask about our resources.
Hey, tell us about your resources.
Oh, we have one.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, since you asked, I'll show you the resources.
Yeah, since he asked and we didn't have time to show it, but we did have one. Thank you for asking.
So.
Yeah, we messed your leg.
Sorry. Oh, I wasn't patient enough, I see. Okay, fine. There you go.
I just wanted to make sure
There,
you
it
saw
is.
it. You did notice the clickable part, right?
They're
It just,
clickable.
they were clickable, I just
All right.
needed
Well,
you to.
thank you.
It's on
We'll
board.
have-
You know, they knew it was clickable.
Basically, I'm doing a 7-minute timer and then I'll. So I need to
We're the whole.
They just put in HTML. Like the last
Because you never asked. And I asked you to ask, and then I asked for a ticket, and you didn't either.
We saw it.
Introduce yourself.
You did, you checked.
Yeah, and I'll give you, I'm gonna do a 7-minute timer and I'll tell you when you're 2 minutes, in case you don't see it.
So, hello, my name's Aiden. I'm a current OTC student.
Malcolm McCarthy, I do IT at OTC.
And hello everyone, so I'm Johnny Sun, and then I'm also a student at OTC currently.
And I'm Louis Lathrop, and guess what? I'm also a student at OTC.
And I'm one of their teachers.
I have had all 3 of them tonight for teachers this semester, so this will be interesting. That's my competition.
We're gonna go ahead and get started with the video. Our first one is going to be our administration app. And we did this in Flutterflow and we'll run it right here. We do have a login page to do this stuff that we have the super secret password that we used to run it.
Did you have to store that in LastPass?
That logs us into our dashboard. and we have a dashboard for the admin to load into. It starts off with that admin's users at the bottom, gives a student summary of like course progress and then course grade. It does have a total for all the users currently in the program and then active users. So in the back end, we were hoping to have something that would show like when people logged in, and then you would see how active they are. And then we do have a profile page for the admin to go into. In this page, we would want them to edit their profile if they need to change their password, stuff like that. Then we have, and how we separated users is with classes, which was mentioned by like cohorts. So we have classes that have users and their courses. And then we have the actual users. That'll be all the users for that administrator. You wouldn't see like other ones. And then you can add users, edit user information, and remove users. And then it was talked about that they wanted reports. So we put an example report in here. This is actually not brought in through the database, but this is what we would hope it would look like. You would have just a gallery of reports. You would have selections to do which report you want. Then you move on to quizzes and surveys. It was mentioned that they wanted something to add quizzes, edit quizzes, and even remove quizzes. It would show all the current quizzes, so all the quizzes that would be being taken, and then you move on to surveying quizzes, and this would show you like grades on quizzes. So how they're doing, who's completed them, and then surveys be the same. And we do have a digital intake form. This is only, on FlutterFlow we made it where it was only on desktop or tablet. And to make it secure, when you would close it, you would have to log back into the admin app. So the dad couldn't get back into the administrator app without logging in. And that is our admin app. And we'll flip over to our other app.
Perfect. And I guess while I set this up real quick, if you guys have any questions about the admin app, might be a good time to answer them, like it's plugged in.
Does the admin app send an invite or anything to them for the companion app?
So through that, if you would add a user, so you'd have the intake form, you'd add a user, you fill out the form, and then it would send information or an invite to the user. And then that's where they would be able to download that.
Does it actually do that yet, or is that something that
No,
will be in the future?
it does not do that yet, sadly, but that is a feature that we thought about.
Any other admin app questions from the judges while we're waiting for this to load?
And this is currently building in FlutterFlow. So the app is fully buildable. It's on both iOS and Android, and that's about it.
Yeah. 2 minutes, okay. So just about done. Sorry, just timed out while we're waiting, my bad.
Is there anything else as far as user management, quiz management, et cetera, that's just a placeholder for now that doesn't actually work?
Yes, we have on the admin app, there's a quizzes list. So a user would have a list of quizzes, and then they would go into the quiz, and there's just like a dummy quiz in there right now, but yeah.
Yeah, the quiz, actual like building them and to a database is not connected yet.
Okay, thank you.
It's just about finished.
Any other questions from the judges while we're waiting? You have a total of 10 minutes. We
Yeah.
try to divvy it up so that.
Yeah.
So.
It's also built in Flutter, so it's built with Flutter, so you can use Flutter if you want it. So it has the Dart code in our GitHub and everything.
Alright, so this is our companion app. This is made to run on mobile only. And we'll get logged in here. Let's go login screen. Keyboard.
There it goes. And we set up an ERD, but basically it's just a room entry database made in Firebase, and just to get login information done.
Alright, and on login, as you guys saw in the demo video there, we come into our dashboard screen, which will give them some updates for what's going on, what they have this week at the top here, so what week it is, what quizzes they have available, and their current chapter, whatever data you want to put here. As far as our course, we didn't have the course details, so we wanted to let you guys modify that, put some stuff in here for you.
And you hit time, you're going into your 3 minutes, you can keep going or let them ask questions.
Alright, I'll go through these tabs real quick so you can see here real quick. You have a profile page where you can update their information, receive their information, what course they're enrolled in, their advisor. We've got some messages real quick so you can see messages. This is internal messaging, this isn't using email or anything like that. You can see that. They'll expand, so you can see replies, and it gives you an opportunity to go in and reply to messages. And then our calendar, our upcoming events real quick, will show you the month, show you what events you have coming up. And if you click over on these, it'll actually bring it up here a little bit. And for those that maybe don't know where things are, you click on this, it'll actually bring up the Google's map for it as well.
Nice. Yep, and any questions?
Judges, you have 2 minutes for questions.
What are some third-party services you're leveraging at the moment?
Third-party services, we're leveraging Flutter Flow, but as we use it, it's all code-based, so you can take the code from Flutter Flow and basically put it into Flutter and use it and write Dart code onto there. We actually made custom Dart code to make the messages work too.
But it's not integrating, we're using the Firebase database.
Yeah.
And then Flutter Flow, and those are the only third-party services we're using at the moment.
That's a NoSQL database.
Yep,
Correct, yes.
NoSQL, just like Firestore, Firebase, yep.
Okay, any other questions, judges? If not, give it up for the Code Crusaders. The bad dads are up next.
Bad dads?
Bad
I think we were like right over
Silver.
Write an SQL letter.
Introduce yourself and then website.
All right, good morning. My name is Dylan Bolger, and this is.
I am Daniel Moore.
I'm Celeste Whitlow.
We are the dads.
We try our best
So our big idea behind the project was a pretty large back-end architecture, portable development, and a good-looking front end. You know, the components to making a good, program. We'll go ahead and do all of it in 48 hours too. I guess I forgot about that. So we were able to set up a back end and some RESTful endpoints, as well as some data models, as well as start on the front end and design the iOS front end as well. And then, so we're going to move on to the demo. I don't know how to. There we go.
Swipe.
Okay, and then you're going to take over?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the demo of our admin dashboard if you're logged in as a chapter admin. So this will be like the Stockton Regional or Springfield Regional for people in that office to be able to sign in and see an overview of all of their facilitators and locations. So we have the total active dads in this chapter and also stats on the active facilitators to see, are the facilitators filling up their classes? Are they not getting enough help in recruiting and finding dads that could use the service? We have resources, so this would ideally pull in blog posts from the existing Good Dads blog, and then if a chapter wanted to add local resources like Springfield area activities, they could add a post and save it, and it would have the same categories as the Good Dads existing ones. And Another important feature in here is alerts for chapter-wide alerts, or facilitators in the facilitator backend could also do that, where you can search for active dads, active being dads that are currently in a cohort, filter by their facilitator, what location they're taking their course at, maybe joined before or joined after a certain point, select all of them and add an alert. So in the example here, we have classes canceled due to inclement weather, as well as edit forms. So the paper forms that are required by the state that Good Dads already has with the intake, we thought it might be important for chapters or locations to add their own additional forms if they just have something else they need to collect data on. So you can create, really you're just creating the name and you need to have the paper forms to give them. But that way this gets added to the new client intake on that page where the intake staff helper says, okay, they filled out all of the paper forms and I've received them. I think that's all I want to show on that. And then we have the native. Good.
That's good.
I could have done it on a bigger phone. So the native Swift iOS app that we worked on, I'm bypassing the login for time's sake. So we have an alert at the top if there's a quiz or survey that is just sent out. And then your upcoming lesson, so the next time that they are actually going to physically be at their course for their next module, get directions and also send a message if they need to ask the facilitator a question or tell them that they won't be able to make it. In My Courses, you'll have a list of the courses you're currently enrolled in with your cohort. So in this one, this person is just enrolled into Fundamentals of Fatherhood, and they have just done Module 7 on October 31st, so that quiz is available. They can take the quiz, submit the quiz. Resources, so in resources, when you do the contact intake, they give their caseworker or their parole, like someone that they have information for. So we wanted to make a resources thing where they would have contact information for their facilitator that's teaching the Good Dad course, also their caseworker, and possibly other relevant community resources. And then the articles is where those other resources show up, excuse the llamas.
They're adorable.
But this will pull from the Good Dad's blog as well as any chapter or facilitator specific articles, just resources. Oh yeah, that's WD. And then a settings page for settings. And then before, oh god. I'm just gonna run through the client intake form real quick. It's very much specialized to be on a landscape tablet of like, let me pass this to you. So contact information, all very big.
2 minutes.
Okay, family information, all the kids and all that jazz, and then multimedia release form, and then, you know, those additional forms, and then you pass it back, and then the intake staffer will send that to the facilitator, and then they will approve it, and then they'll send out the link for actually creating the account and getting the app. Sorry.
You're good. So I'll demonstrate a little bit. So we've got our backend, it's built in Springfield, running on Java. Really, we've got some RESTful endpoints like the dads controller where you can grab all the dads. There's a few other endpoints that are defined, but not all of them are created yet. And you can just reach out and grab data about that, and it'll return a list of dads. This is just some pre-populated data that isn't really valid just yet. And then we've also got, grabbing staff member by ID, which will be called by front end, and then you can grab that from there. And then find this one, yeah. So I wanted to put some lesson learned on here. Could have made the project in a much smaller form, at least the back end. I think there was a lot going on there, and I didn't really know very much about the web frameworks. I don't know if you guys want to speak to any.
I didn't know much about your back-end framework choices, so.
We all decided to learn something new on this, and we learned a lot.
Yeah.
Very good. I think this is it.
Questions? Yeah, questions? We've got 3 minutes 20.
So what parts, can you just kind of list out a little bit, are they're faked for now that we built out later versus what is truly working as far as integrating between, or some of the things, some of the API calls aren't there, et cetera, but just at a high level?
So we don't have authentication in. There is some of the logic that's sitting in the back end, but it's not actually working yet. There isn't data being linked from the back end to the front end just yet.
The front end is making calls to the back end for logic, but because there's no data there, most of it's stubbed out.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
the functionality's there, it's just not being utilized.
It's a hackathon, that's standard.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything works.
Any other questions, judges? If not, can we give them a round of applause back? $295, come on up.
Maybe that was the idea.
Someone told me.
You're like the fourth person. What's the name of this room? Cox Out. Oh, yeah.
$295 is their name. All right, whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Noah.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Joshua. I'm Tim. We're a group of OTC students. We've also had them as teachers. So we have our project structured in the Microsoft Power Platform. The idea behind that is it can be very scalable towards your organization. And a lot of organizations are already using Office 365 license now. And if you have an Office 365 license, you can get started with Power Apps right away. There are some more premium features, of course, it's Microsoft. You know how they like to get their money. But they can get started with a Power App very quickly. So we created a separate app for the participant intake. And the nice thing with Power Apps is they can be deployed across multiple devices. So if you want to give them an iPad, hand them the iPad, have the participant fill it out there. If you're like, hey, my iPad's dead, but I have the intake form on my phone, I'm going to trust you with my phone for a second. Here you go. They can input the intake form here. So here I should have pre-filled like the other groups, but I wrote it down so I don't have to sit here thinking of data. So I'm going to use our mascot, Aussie Eagle. I think that's right. Professors, is that right?
Eagles.
Yeah. Sweet. I actually had no idea until like 5 minutes ago. I just knew we were the Eagles. To be quite honest.
Sports team you can't have.
So let me get back on the browser.
It's a mascot.
So the user can come in and input their data. And 64. 6 by 2. And
While you're filling that out, how much of this is code versus configuration for using the, I'm not familiar with Microsoft offering.
So most of the UI elements is just configuration. So it's kind of if you can think of it kind of like WordPress, the UI elements themselves are drag drop, and then for like color and size and all that, that's a little bit of configuration, and then most of the logic happens when you select a button. Type in a number there, and the nice thing with this is you can configure some logic in the back end to make sure that, hey, I can't
click that next button until all the fields are filled out correctly. So worker, I'm just gonna say worker and then give them another 10-digit number to match the phone. And then, I can say yes, there's child support required, and then there's some logic. It pre-fills some fields out based off of what I've selected before. Yes, and then I can say, I don't know, 5 years old, add it, submit. So that's created, and then if you have this on a tablet and they're handing the tablet back to you, they click exit, it does automatically log them out. I'm in the edit tool right now, so I could show you that there's emulations, but if this was to be actually deployed, the exit button would log out the user from the screen. That way they can't get back into the app and get to the admin side. So this is the admin side. If the worker wants to launch the new participant intake form from here, they can. They could also see clients that are currently pending. So if I refresh that, pretend that. And they can get a list of the different participants. So this table defaults to the active ones, but we could also filter it out by the different status that they have. We can search by name, phone number, say John Appleseed, and anybody named John Appleseed will show up. And then if I go back, it could also display, there's a feature of the Power Platform called Power BI. Power BI takes your data from your database and makes it into a nice chart. This particular chart was not built using Power BI, but we just wanted to show the idea that you can represent your data in a very visually appealing manner.
2 minutes.
And then also you can access a database of quizzes. You can see what their current active date is, their date created, the name, and you'd be able to create a new quiz from here. So this is kind of the back end side, and then for the companion app, we used Microsoft Power Pages. Power Pages can be hosted as a website, or it can also be deployed as a progressive web app, so you have some options there. It's mobile friendly, and it has a built-in authentication. So once they sign in, they can access the rest of the companion app. When they get approved to be part of the program, they would be emailed a invite code, and they'd use that invite code to register with the companion app, log in, and get their profile set up. Any questions? Yes.
What do the dads see once they log in?
So Power Pages died like 3 times. So this is like a last minute rebuild. We had pages going. The idea is that they would see their active quizzes. Using Power Automate, we can send push notifications either through text or through email to their phones, or we could even send a notification through the website. So there are features that we have on the plan, but they didn't make it because of some issues that we had with Power Pages on this environment.
Did you not have a chance to build them yet because of that, or did they just not make the final cut because of issues?
It didn't make the final cut because of issues. So we had to build this on OTC's Power Platform environment, and so we ran into some issues with that. If we had an actual OTC doesn't use Power Platform as a whole, so it's not very built out. So if we had some more time to actually build out the environment, we'd have some less issues and be able to build out some of these features more.
Sure. Judges, you have 3 more minutes. Any more questions?
So what I hear you saying is it's Tiffany's fault?
Yeah, it's on our
fault.
I don't run IT at OTC, I don't know what they do.
No, and another one of our issues, full transparency, the Power Platform is not very collaborative development friendly. They're working on it. Power Platform is fairly new. It's a lot of its big features came out in the last 5-10 years, so that's one of the features that they're working on. So we were running into a lot of issues with syncing issues between if I did something versus Victoria doing something versus, so on and so forth. Things wouldn't sync properly, but
Show up across devices.
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah. But with more time, I think we could get, there's a lot of expandability within the Power Platform as a whole. And Dataverse scales as your organization scales, so as you add more users, they allocate more resources to your databases. And it's called Dataverse. It's essentially a Microsoft hosted SQL server. It's got like the visual of an Excel table with the back end of SQL.
You might have mentioned this, but what are the costs associated with running this sort of app?
So it starts off free. Dataverse itself gives you a little bit of free space. It depends on the route that you want to go. If you wanted to stay really free, you could go like SharePoint over Dataverse. As you can use a lot of different data sources. That's one of the beauties behind the Power Platform. So if you're like, hey, I can't afford Dataverse, so I want to use a low cost SQL server, you can do that instead. So numbers. I believe the Power Pages was, if you want to start off with a Power Page, that was $100 a month. And then the license for Power Apps Premium, which gets you the Dataverse license, was $200 a month. Don't quote me exact, but I think it was about that number.
That's not per user or anything, that's just overall.
It has a user cap. So if you get over that cap, you would need to purchase more user capacity.
By users, you mean participants or admins?
Admins, so internal users. So Power Portal, Power Portal also has a cap, and that is its own cost. So that's an external. It's still an internal authentication, but it's not a Microsoft authentication. It's within the program itself. So there's a table of users that aren't 365 users.
All right, we're 5 seconds. Any last? All right, hi. Everybody, give it up for Team 295. Enthusiastic chair warriors, come on up. So you want 7 minutes when it gets to 5? Does that make sense? Introduce yourselves and I'll do it in the morning so the judges have some time.
Yeah, let's give them motions.
Okay,
We'll take those questions, okay.
I'm gonna send them, let's see.
Alright, enthusiastic chair boards?
Yes.
Alright, yes, I'm Matt Ballard, I'm from OTC. I'm Billy, I'm also from OTC.
I'm Shane, I'm from OTC.
I'm Zach, good at OTC, working at OTC Web Services. Don't know any of those guys in the back.
Never seen them before. So, we'll start with the admin page. So basically, we built it using PHP and Bootstrap, and the idea behind this is that there's a whole bunch, it's built by modules, so these would be different widgets. So that basically, each one is built into different sections that they could like remove or like add on there. So for instance, we have the quick add, which brings us to the registration form. And yes, this is what the user would see like on their tablet. So, and there's like a schedule, so we can add the class and the quiz that they want to add. And then add that, look up by user, send a reminder for like quizzes that are due. And yes. I don't think I'm gonna touch anything else.
The idea behind the reminder module down here at the bottom is to hook up a socket, a WebSocket, and have that information pushed directly to the user's mobile app, which will be shown when we actually load up the mobile app, how they'll see that and where it will display. Quick Add is a feature that we didn't have time to build out, but essentially once launched, it would take up the entire screen of the tablet and would require an actual admin user to log back in to release it from that, basically just guided access so that they can't access anything else on the device. I think that's all we have for this, right?
So this is our Good Dads companion app to help dads be their best. The biggest thing is making sure that people are good role models, and so we took into account this idea of trying to create dads into better role models, and we even added extra features to the app outside of the project requirements to help achieve this. So there's the. I'll just do it in spacebar here. Alright. There is all the information for the admin page. We didn't build an API. So what we have is we have the views for the admin and we've got the view for the companion app. We've also got our database.
Shrink your screen just a little.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Projector's cutting you off.
Gotcha. Okay. So for the actual app, it's your dad's portal to greatness. You can take quizzes, you can track your progress, you can contact your caseworker, and you can even stay accountable with our new journal feature, starting with a D for dad. So here's what our home page looks like. We can see all of our immediate to-dos and notifications. What's your resolution right now?
It's a projector issue. You're not going to be able to fix it with
Okay.
full screen. It's going to
You
chop
can
it off.
just go through the tabs on the left side.
Cool, yeah. But
There you go.
that'll work. Yeah, so we've got our home page here. You can see your immediate to-dos. There's a little quote up there. You can put a dad joke there too if you'd like. We've got a little navigation on the side to navigate to other various views. We've got a curriculum page. So this will show, how close we are to completion, what we've completed, and what's to do, what's available. You can have grayed out checkboxes for things you can't access. You can have empty checkboxes for things you can access and want to check off, and you've checked off ones for things you've completed. We've got a caseworker page to show your caseworker's information. There's a button for send a message that can be configured to do email or text, however you want to contact your caseworker. It might vary per worker, per individual, per organization. And that's what we have built out. Let me pull that up for you. So this is a native Android application built in Java, the very first. So you have your to-dos here, which expand and track, and you can start quizzes and whatnot. You have your curriculum page here, and then you've got your casework information here. These three, this one would link to the quizzes. This one would link to the journal, and this one would link to your own account information, which I've created design mock-ups of, which we'll go to next. So we've got our journal page. This would be a way to help keep dads accountable. Essentially, you send a couple small prompts, you can respond with one sentence, and then at the end of the day, you make batch calls to ChatGPT to summarize them, so you can have the effect of keeping a full journal about your parenting without any of that effort. Answer a few push notifications every day, and then you get a summary. And here's what that would look like. You could just use this, paste that into the prompt section of the JSON for your API, and it would generate those responses. A little bit of prompt engineering here, because you can just write JSON into a ChatGPT prompt, and it understands that as a data structure. For 600 to 700 dads, the API spending would be around $30 to $40 a month for this advanced feature. Here's our quiz design. One question at a time, not overwhelming, very simple. And then here is our profile information. Those would be filled in with the first names, last names, whatever of the individuals, and would become editable upon clicking that edit button on the top right. Thank you.
All right. Judges, 3.5 minutes.
So just to clarify a little bit, you said you didn't have a chance to build an API, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's nothing connecting yet between those things that will be built out later on, right?
Right. They have like static assets where you would pass in information from the API.
Yeah.
So that would just be a quick switch out.
Okay. Do you have a data store of any kind that's storing anything, or is it all static at the moment?
So it's all static on the app. We've like set up the database design for like a PostgreSQL database for this.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why we kind of thought of modules was because different users are gonna have different requirements. And modules, when we were building the modules, were actually quite easy to build. And so if you have like, say, like someone that needs to print reports, you can have modules with different permissions and whatnot. So certain people can have access to certain modules versus not. So if someone is like at the front desk and they have their service modules they need, versus if say like the person that runs reports will have like a report button where they can click on like what class or which batch of users, and then it can run like PHP code in the background where it can like you can download those files relatively quickly without kind of like having to like have different pages and build out a whole different page. Where this you can kind of just build a module, import that module into the kind of the home page, and then the user can just like, oh, I just need this module, and click that real quick, and it's already configured to what their access permission is. And so it just kind of they have access to what they need at their demand. So
Minute and a half, judges. Any more questions? Hearing none, let's give it up. All right, Control Alt Defeat. Come on up.
Just closed the window that had everything in it, so.
It's all right, you're not on screen yet. We'll need to check your connection.
I'm connected.
Introduce yourselves while you're getting set up.
Sure. Hi everyone. We are Team Control Alt Defeat. We have teammates Nathan, Jesse, Colton, and myself, Carmen. Colton and I are actually married, but otherwise none of us knew each other before Friday night. So it was really cool to get to work together with new people and new technologies. We definitely learned a lot, and I think we got more done than we would have if we didn't pair up, so that was really great. And after these last few late nights, we really hope you like what we came up with. And so my teammates will take it away with the architecture, design, and demo.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit about the technologies we opted to use. We are using Strappy for the back end, which is essentially it markets itself as a headless CMS, but it basically exposes an API and gives you an interface for modeling that API, editing it, and also gives you things like authentication, both in the admin and in the front end. It gives you the ability to extend the application via plugins. It has role level permissions, so you can have different user roles for like caseworkers or intake workers or admin users. We used Vue for our front end. Nuxt is for server-side rendering. React and D3 are both for writing plugins inside Strappy. GraphQL is our query language. We are styling with Tailwind CSS, and Postgres is our database. For pricing, it kind of depends on how you host it. If you wanted to host it all yourself in the cloud, you could probably do it for around $20 a month, depending on how much you scale up or how popular the app becomes, I guess. You really only need an email provider, a web server, a DB, and image hosting for hosting it yourself. Strappy offers a cloud hosting solution for $99 a month, and the companion app could be hosted separately for around $10 a month. So I already talked a little bit about the architecture. We're using Strapi for the admin app and a mobile-first web app with Next. For the companion app, authorization is handled with Strapi and Apollo. The sign-up form is done through Strapi with a user that has rollover permissions only to add user information, so to sign up a new user basically. Reporting is handled via a Strapi plugin in the Strapi admin, and that can be extended and other plugins can be added to the platform at a later date if needed. So Colton, we're going to have him demo the admin.
Do you have to do them all? Apologies, I don't use Mac very often. Me and Carmen started out by making this ULL diagram of the backend database and kind of how we envisioned it. And so this, I won't go into detail here, even though there's some things I very much like about what we did. But this is just to show that we took the time to make sure we had the correct schemas and to make sure that all the connections were going the correct way, in a way that we can essentially build and is more scalable. So this is our admin app as well as our database. It's Strapi, it kind of does both.
Can you cascade that a little bit, the projector comes?
Oh.
Great, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so in here, not only, so whenever you're developing, so we can make our tables in here, and so I'll go through these like really quick. So we can go in here and easily add fields to tables. There's no need to write actual insert statements to a database or anything like that. And you can also see that we have relations here. So a quiz is going to have many questions, and those questions are going to have many answers. And from there, we can set stuff in the answers. For instance, is this the correct answer? And as you can see, what quiz is that associated with? And functionally, so what an admin user would see whenever they go in. So say they want to add a, well, we could look at a child object. And if they wanted to add a new child to a user, which would be a dad, they can go in here. And from here, they can make connections. I guess maybe quiz answer might be better. But this is just to show that this is where you can not only insert data as an admin, but also query it.
So for the intake, you could sign in as a user that had, like I was saying earlier, only role-level permissions to actually create a new user. So here I'm signed in as the intake user, and they only have the ability to create a new user. Plans for the future, you could create a plugin within Strapi to kind of make this a little more user-friendly. They only have access to certain fields to create, and then the admin user would come back in at a later date and update that. Strapi does have the ability to send out email notifications for users to come in and accept their account, and then on the front end they could update their own profile information from there if they wanted to. So you could have an admin user basically create just these first three fields, and then the email would get sent out to the user, and then they could update all their profile information just from the front end. So we're going to have Jesse talk about the front end.
Yeah, this is our companion app. I'm going to sign in real quick. And we're dealing with authentication with Strapi. Sweet. Yeah, this is the About page. We've got a help page. This is for updating the user's information. Scroll down. You're at.
We're at time. Sorry. You can keep going, but you're cutting into the judge's questions.
You're able to add an interested party, children. Yeah, and then schedule, and then we'll go to quizzes.
Yes, so, and this is, I wanna point out here that whenever we go to schedule, we are pulling in information from the database, and then whenever we go to take quiz, we are, the idea is that we are passing information in, so that we are actually pulling the correct quiz. And from here, we just have it pretty set up very quickly to do submit, and it very quickly tells you what your score is, and this is, like I said, all tracked on the database on which answers are correct. We don't have it pushing back up to the database, but as you can see, and what we're trying to show with the proof of concept is we do get a score very quickly from this, and we can push that up to a specific user and their specific quiz results. We also do have the database set up to where a user could potentially retake quizzes and stuff like that. So yeah.
I just want to show you the reporting screen real quick and then we'll get to questions. Any questions?
Judges?
So I got just a little bit lost on the intake form. Is that actually part of the companion app where you were filling out some of that, or is that only on the back end, or are you saying that's part that they would, I saw the database type relationship.
It's in the administrative app.
Okay.
With a user that has only the ability to add new users, basically.
Okay, but it's the same UI as the admin app, it's just that, restricted.
Yes.
Okay.
Another minute for questions, judges.
Alternatively, they could get the emails sent to them to create their account and then go directly into the companion app and fill out the rest of the information in their profile, because the profile has everything that's in the intake form too.
That's what I was,
So you can do either way. So someone could type it in, so they could pull that up on an iPad in there, or someone could just directly take their information, type it in, or they could say, we're just sending you an email, go ahead and download that app, fill out the rest of it, and we'll save it back. So there's a lot of flexibility with that.
Cool. Any other questions?
Are there any notifications or anything set up?
Strappy has the ability to, we just didn't set up an email provider, so most of that's pretty automated. You can create lifecycle hooks for when you're basically creating a new record in one of these collections to send out emails automatically, like when a new quiz is created or when it becomes due, stuff like that.
Just to clarify on the pricing, that, $20 a month self-hosted roughly, or $100 for the cloud, does that scale with more users, more dads, more whatever? Like how does that?
$90 a month in Strappy Cloud is the starter, so if you're gonna do it via that, it would cost more and more. I don't recommend it, it's way overpriced, self-hosting would be way better.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it would scale.
Okay. All right, and we're at time. Let's give it up.
Hey, well, I want to start by giving a thank you and an apology. Thank you for being here. I know when you're up to your necks in code and haven't slept in a long time, it's really hard to think that you're actually impacting real people. But I work full-time in an office that's small and scrappy, but we've been so proud of what we've been able to achieve, and you've been instrumental in that. One of my favorite quotes is a quote from Gandhi. He says, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." That's what you did. So thank you for that. And we want to say sorry for taking so long. We argued and argued and went in circles and circles.
Very tough.
But we've identified.
Did you take pictures of the argument?
No, we don't watch video evidence of what actually happened.
But I have the distinct pleasure of announcing our 3 winners. I've been instructed to name them from 3rd place in the lead up to build some suspense. Are we ready to hear 3rd place? Drum roll, please. Yes, drum roll.
Congrats, guys.
Hey. We won't do pictures here, we're gonna go out front and take pictures there, okay?
So you can either sit and hear who second and first are, or you can head on out. I would suggest waiting. Wait right here. Perfect.
Yay, 3rd place, Coach Crusader!
Okay, we ready for second place?
Yeah!
Hands together for the sparkling Tomcat. Good job. Okay, here it is, guys. Ready? Control Alt Defeat.